Welcome to the Thriving Tides podcast. I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Julianne. If you're an entrepreneur or busy individual looking for self-care ideas, you're in the right place.
And we can't wait to share our experiences with you. Welcome back to Thriving Tides. Today we are joined into the closet with the lovely Ann Worth. Ann Worth is the owner and president of Worth Consulting Group. Her company provides professional business and consulting services. Most recently, though, she has also added commercial real estate to her portfolio. Ann has a deep love for nature. You can often find her starting her day in the forest. Her passion and energy is infectious, and we enjoyed having her join us for this episode. Enjoy!
Are you ready?
Are we supposed to have fun?
Oh,
Absolutely.
Please.
Yes, so much. Do you do anything that isn't fun?
I really insist on there's a bit of fun.
Yeah.
If I don't see it, I'll create it or I'll try.
Excellent.
Yay.
That's why we like you. Cool. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here tonight. You ran straight here, I think.
I'm so happy.
I love it. I love it.
To chat.
Yeah. Yeah, we appreciate it. We know that you have multiple endeavors on your plate at all times, between your consulting work and now newly into real estate and so many other things.
Never a dull moment.
Never a dull moment. And that's what I like about you, Ann, among many other things. But I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about how all of this came together for you. So Worth Consulting, how it's grown and evolved over time, and then maybe, what inspired you to take the leap to add commercial real estate to the whole mix as well.
Oh my, if there only had been a master plan.
No master
it up
plan?
as we go. Boy, that's a big question. Oh my gosh, where do we dive in? The one thing that I would say about this journey is that there wasn't a plan. And it's been inspired by working with great people in whatever I've done. So, in the early days of the hotel business, which is where I cut my teeth, tourism and hospitality, and I did everything in a restaurant, in a hotel that you could imagine, from bussing tables to...
That's amazing.
I used to greet the motor coaches at 6 a.m. in the morning
Wow.
in downtown Halifax at the Delta Barrington.
Well, I've
Serve
seen you
up
at 6
coffee.
a.m. You're very happy.
See a common theme here.
Yes.
Early morning starts.
Mm-hmm.
But, along the way, I think about the common denominators, as diverse as the career has been. And we'll talk a bit about that probably in time to come. I think about the common denominators, and there's just been really great people I've had the chance to work with. And I don't mean that, flippantly.
Yeah.
And I think having really positive role models, if you're working in entry level or supervisory or even management roles, are really important.
Mm.
And what they model, you tend to want to be that. You want those qualities.
Right.
So you try and incorporate them into what you do, and sometimes you fail miserably. Often you do.
Yeah.
But I don't, and people that know me know that I don't really use the word failure. I talk about learnings and lessons. But, if we were talking about failure, that's so negative to me. Every time you try something on that's a bit different, as scary as it is, because unknown is scary. But if you can wrestle that fear to the ground, then, on the other side of that is something quite amazing. It's the path to great self-confidence and this belief that you can do things because you have.
Yeah.
So, and, everybody I meet, I see that people are on these journeys of tackling hard things, because that's what change does. If you... It's just this belief, I think, in this thirst to learn, this authentic desire to learn and grow, because the two of those things go hand in hand.
Right.
And I just feel like whatever I've done in my career, right up to most recently incorporating commercial leasing and commercial real estate into my portfolio, and skill set is just born of a desire to try and grow and be better and to learn more. And inevitably, I think what that does is it expands your network, your knowledge, your base, and those things somehow marry together in terms of your past knowledge and experiences, and then some of your sort of new areas of learning, you start seeing how they connect together like Lego. I
love
really
when it's like ding ding ding. Oh, that's why I did that 20 years ago. That's why I had to learn that skill set and hear how it's serving me now. Right? It's not all for nothing.
The common denominators that I mentioned earlier about people, and the strengths of really great people I've worked with and wanted to emulate, whether that be hotel managers or, directors of sales. And I mean, there's a long list of people I can think about in the trade association business, food manufacturing, export, and then starting my own business. I had a vending business at one time. I had a retail store in Queen Street. So in all of these little areas, the other common denominator across all of these things for me was how to treat people. Some people call them customers, clients, but at the end of the day, it's really about this this desire to work with people in a respectful way, and to do that well, I think you have to listen.
Right.
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah. Well, and so often, like, we don't really think of our clients or our customers as humans, which is so silly because they are humans. And it's why aren't we building those human connections? And when we do argue with them or we disagree with them, coming at from the perspective of that growth mindset that you're kind of talking about too.
Oh, yeah, I bang on. I mean, it's funny. Today is just a really crazy example of a diverse day. Here we're sitting together having this great conversation. But the day started at 4:45, hike at, bit of gratitude, review of goals. 6 a.m. I'm in the woods with great friends, being committed to exercise, do some quotes and do some prospecting and and then I'm delivering respect in the workplace training midday with a local company, talking about respect in the workplace. Really important topic. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you see these common threads.
Yes.
And I think, and then, off to Charlottetown for meetings and
a run.
A little run.
Yeah.
Here we are.
A little 10K run and then a podcast.
Yeah. But it's just really about the common threads. And it's about, and I think this is the same for probably your listeners. We all want to make a difference, a positive difference, an impact in some way, if it's training in a company setting or if it's hiking, and even on the days you don't want to.
Those are always the best ones.
Yeah, because
right?
somebody else is going to be there, and you have to be committed and accountable to
I was just going to say that accountability is huge, right? Like, you have a great group of women who are there, not everyone every morning, but I love that too. It's such a big group that it's very rarely less than 2 of you. Right?
Yeah. Outsider, what group? I'm sure the listeners are also wondering what's going on.
And fitness group, active group. Cool. It's just a Facebook chat that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it just, hey, I'm going for a hike or a run.
A few years ago, you know how you sort of step back once in a while and you go, hey, am I really committed to healthy, being as healthy as I can be? And I mean, as you get a little older, you start really thinking about your health and how you're looking after yourself. And I thought, I can do more. I can do better. So I really started hiking regularly. And I am blessed to live in a beautiful place, Bonshaw, PEI, in the middle of 2 beautiful provincial parks. So, bad on me if I can't find my way out the front door, every day. Right. Really, it's not that hard. But I just thought, and I enjoy solitude and walking by myself too. But I thought, gee, I should kind of put it out there that if anyone wants to join in, that everyone welcome. I'd love to have you. Why not? More the merrier.
Absolutely.
So we just sort of gained some momentum, and now we just do it like it's normal.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
So
it is normal.
At 6 a.m. year round.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
No, it's wonderful. It's
Great.
just, bring a light this time of year.
We solve all the world's problems.
Right? It's true.
The evergreens.
Deep conversations happen in the woods. I love
Riverside.
That. Yeah.
It's wonderful.
If only I could get up at 6 a.m.
Well, actually, you'd have to get up at like 5 because it's like a 20-minute drive from Charlottetown. So.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
But what I really, really believe is that people need their own sort of recipe.
Yeah.
Right? 6 a.m. might be my thing, but it's maybe not somebody else. So you kind of have to create your own little recipe for how you want to. I mean, a day is a gift. What we choose to do with that gift, it's up to us how we dice and slice.
Yeah.
So, I and some days aren't exactly like that, but, we find our own recipes, that makes sense for us. And, at the end of the day, you may not hit all those things, those goals, but I say count the successes. I mean, we're so used to making lists and checking off what we get done.
Yes.
But I think don't start with a list. Just write the successes as you have them.
I like
and
that approach.
Let them build for the day. And then look at just your successes you had that day.
Yeah. Otherwise, you can focus a lot on like what you didn't cross off, right?
Yeah.
What you didn't get done. That's what a lot of leaders that I coach are so focused on. The failings, right? Or where they're missing the mark versus giving themselves the credit for all the wonderful things that they're doing.
For sure.
And entrepreneurship is so very much like that at times. I like that. Success list.
But I like checking off the box. This is so nice.
That's your recipe.
But yeah, no, I feel like the crazy amount of stress when I don't get that task done, but then I'm not looking at the actual successes. But I feel like that's also part of like, I keep going back to what you said, back to the growth mindset though. I feel like if you're in the path of like learning and being able to learn, it doesn't really matter if you don't get that task done. Did something else happen? Which I think is really important too. So I really like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's another way of expressing it. Achievement is on the edge of discomfort. Really is.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if you can be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Right?
But not a lot of people are willing to do that.
Yeah. It's amazing. What's on the other side of that. So I try and think about that with some frequency.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, and even like the few times that I've been able to join on the hikes, it's deep conversation that we have out there too. Like I see you as a very reflective, intuitive person, which is great. So
I see you as that.
Well, thank you. It's I have an old soul, I think.
Absolutely, you fit in like just a hand in a glove.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's fun. And you said that you do like gratitude practice on your own, things like that as well. That's really cool. So it's a whole morning routine that you have going on there for yourself. That starts at what you said, 4:45?
Or 5.
Or 5. Yeah. Sometimes a little snooze. Don't blame you.
Yeah,
That's
but
awesome.
You're not going to see me up at midnight either. Not too often.
Yeah. Well, you still have to sleep.
Unless there's a party.
Well, yes, of course.
Then I'm there.
Then
I'm
you're there.
I'm the last one.
Probably in some wig or costume or...
Yes,
Anne's a lot
we
of
do
fun.
like to dress up.
Yeah.
I think I think routine is really important because routine for me delivers consistency. And what I know about goals is that the more consistent I can be in my application, like the sum of effort towards goals, every day, however much you might, slay one day versus another, it doesn't matter. If you're making small steps, incremental steps towards a bigger goal, the only way that really gets done is if you work on it every day. And the only way I can work on things every day is if I schedule it.
Right.
Scheduling being from the time, being accountable for your time, because the time is a gift. So what are you really doing with it? So, I think everyone de-stresses and relaxes in different ways. I like to be in nature. That's how I recharge.
Yes.
Some people may want to watch a movie.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no right or wrong. You know,
Right.
we have our own little cocktail for how we like to do things.
Yeah.
But for me, being next to nature is something I'm passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
And I try and put my volunteer efforts into that area as well when I have free time.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
And it kind of struck me when you were saying routine is so important to you,
Mm-hmm.
because with the multiple endeavors that you have, like with your consulting, that's never 2 days the same. And then you throw real estate into there, which can be, very up and down. Your days probably never two are the same, right? But if you can start with that habit and that routine in the mornings, then at least you have that just to get you back in the rhythm and the vibe, and then the rest of your day, I'm assuming, is well scheduled, so you know exactly what to expect.
That's a great way to describe it. I think that diversity in what you do is exciting,
Mm-hmm.
and no 2 days are the same. But at the same time, the challenge that presents is from a branding perspective. Well, what do you do? Because people love to be able to describe and understand your core competency as being one thing. But I've frankly always resisted that, probably much to my... Perhaps that hasn't been good.
You will not put me in a box.
No, true enough. So, I like to do strategic planning. I like facilitating. I like mentoring. I like doing a little bit of coaching.
Yes.
I'd like to see other people succeed. That's what I like to see. So how that applies, I can help a company with marketing. But, so it's just the application of your skills in terms of helping companies, and not companies are people, helping people find their way forward to success, and we all define success quite differently. Some, is it by the number? Is it by having a good balance and time with family and friends and still hitting your company goals? I mean, what is success?
Yeah. We
Feeling
just had an
healthy.
episode about that.
Yeah.
We're in tune. We did.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So but it's very true. You
It's
just hit it
important.
exactly. That was our main message, is that we all get to define it in whatever way works for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And feel good about it. I think one of the things that I think about a bit is, are we recognizing the successes that we're having as we're having them? And I do a little bit of keynote speaking, and I do some professional development with groups. And, I always incorporate this message into whatever the subject matter is. It's, when is the last time you formally celebrated the success that you've had?
Oh, that's so true. And especially for our newer entrepreneur listeners too. It's just on to the next thing, or what's the next thing on my task to do, and
Absolutely.
It's dangerous to get into that cycle too.
On to the next thing.
Yeah.
Check off
And then you
the
look
list.
back and you're like, oh yeah, I did do something successful, but at the time you're like, oh, I'm awful at business. Why am I doing this?
Yes.
You need to take that step back. So I think it's a good reminder for our listeners and for myself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just like,
A
oh, yeah, what have
constant
I
reminder.
done lately?
Right. Yeah.
But-
Yeah.
But I think we have to talk to ourselves really kindly too, and in really positive terms. I think when people make mistakes, I mean, we're not robots, we're humans. I mean, we make mistakes in business. Well, I don't know about you guys, I make mistakes
Oh, yes.
every day. Every day.
Yeah.
Every day. It's pretty easy to keep your ego in check when you're making the mistakes. But at the end of the day, what we try and do is be excellent in what we do, and we try and minimize the mistakes we make, and we try and learn from the mistakes that we make. But boy, make a mistake, and then boy, will you ever beat yourself up over it? Oh, we should, my God, why?
Yeah.
Like, forgive yourself, move on. Let's get to the next success, learn from it, and incorporate that learning into, a new approach. Anyway, we shouldn't be so hard on ourselves.
Oh, you're telling me.
Yeah.
Do you find, has that changed for you then? Like when you first got started to where you are today, what have you been able to incorporate to be kinder to yourself? Or is that something that you've been doing for a while?
I think my own level of self-awareness about, sort of the ability to step back and look at the bigger picture. Absolutely, I can say I didn't have a good sense of that probably 10 years ago, but I definitely do now. And if that's just the passage of time and kind of being a little older and more mature, or I'm not sure. But maybe as we do get a little older, we start really realizing what's super important, and we let go of the things that aren't, and focus on the things that really matter, and let go of the insignificant things like, you know, other people's judgment or you know, whatever.
Even like what you think they might be judging you on, right? There's so many different, which sometimes is easier said than done, but it's a practice too, right? Like same thing. That takes work, and that takes full intention to truly accept yourself and love yourself for who you are, and embrace those learnings or those failings or however you want to label it, because if you're not pushing yourself, then you're not going to get to that point where you get to grow and learn either.
I think it's just for everybody, it's a different vibration, right? The way I might approach a day might be different than the way somebody else does, but at the end of the day, if you're content with yourself and your effort, whatever that look like, and your impact not necessarily on business, but maybe it's impact on family or impact on a friend, or, you know, I mean, as I said, it comes down to how we measure success, and that's what we value in terms of our personal impact. You know, and I mean, if you think about it, in some ways, business effort, at least in my world, is an extension of wanting to make a positive impact. If it's leading an organization with a great team of people and helping us be the best that we can be as a team, that's a goal. You know, and it's not an individual success at the expense of somebody else. So, you know, I get quite a charge out of seeing other people hit their goals. I don't know.
It's pretty wonderful.
Yeah. Like this podcast.
Thank you.
Pretty awesome that you've created. It's amazing.
It's been a wild ride, but you're loving it so far.
Yeah. Our little closet studio.
Yep.
Little baby studio.
You're both fearless.
It's fearless when I have a buddy. It's a little easier.
It is, and it's like, and knowing where you need someone to walk that path with you too, right? Where like some things you can do alone, and some things you know you prefer in solitude, but then sometimes you need that buddy.
Yeah. And I say never be afraid to be a beginner.
Yes.
Embrace
message.
being a beginner. Yeah. It's okay. Even if you're 50 years old and you're launching into another industry. When at different points in my career, especially in the early days of my consulting practice, I did a lot of export market development with companies. And I took companies to countries all over the world. Trade missions, matchmaking, prospect identification, that kind of stuff. It was fascinating. Probably, I don't know, I read 25 plus trade missions over the course of my business life in a similar number of countries. And what I keep, when you travel internationally like that with other Canadian companies, you really gain an appreciation for how special a place we live. And I'm talking about PEI, yes. But I'm talking about Canada. And all the, you know, I mean, we have our ups and downs, and, you know, but we just need to be really appreciative of this incredible place we live, especially PEI. And if, you know, the pandemic has taught us anything, it's how incredibly lucky we are to live here, to have access to open natural spaces.
Yes.
You know, to be able to just embrace, you know, all the wonderful things about this place. So when you travel internationally and you see what doesn't exist in other places and the standard of, or lack thereof, standard of care, some of the big challenges in countries around the world, you just know that we're pretty lucky.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
put things into perspective.
I guess that's gratitude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. See, you can practice it all day long. Yeah.
You mentioned something that I kind of want to circle back on because it's something that I don't hear a lot of, and I'd love to hear your perspective on kind of how you navigate this. But you mentioned that to be a beginner in something. So often we're worried about our external, like how people view us. And especially when you're in business, you think, okay, I put all this work into becoming this kind of business owner, but then you get into it and you realize, I don't know if it's for me. So I'm going to do something else. And it's that kind of fear of, are people going to judge me? Is my like people think that I'm a failure using that word?
Yes.
What are your thoughts on kind of navigating past that I guess it's like an ego possibly aspect of it? I'm not sure.
Oh boy. Do we have another hour?
Part two.
Yeah, I'd love to hear Julianne's comments about this too, because I know we've had a personal conversation about it. Yeah, I think you got to keep your ego in check. I really do. I think that as people accomplish things in life, and and they're recognized for their successes, which is a wonderful thing. But the moment you start thinking that you're the reason for the successes that you've had, and you alone, then that's when things get a little dangerous, because you are never solely the driver of your success. Your success ultimately is shared success with many other people that helped deliver that. But I guess in answer to the question, do we care too much ultimately about what other people think about us?
Yes.
Yeah.
and why is that? So that's a really interesting question when we dig into that, and why, when we're making decisions and contemplating making changes or moves, why are we even considering what anybody except ourselves think about that?
Yeah.
So, that's something we'd have to unpack probably on a different kind of coach. But at the end of the day, I think I care much less about what the external world thinks today than I did when I was much younger in my career. And honestly, I wish somebody probably had said that to me earlier in my career.
Right.
Care less about what other people think.
Yeah. Yes, caring less about what people think of us is tough, but a great reminder. And I think, we just have to keep practicing at it. And it's almost, when that fear comes up, it's stopping for a moment and checking in and saying, like, what is it I'm afraid of? And if it is that it's other people going to judge you or, criticize you, whatever, then it's a reminder of, they don't matter. They don't get to make the call on what I'm doing with my life. So if I think this is going to bring me joy, let's give it a go.
Yeah.
Those who support me will be there no matter what.
Yes.
The others don't need them.
Yeah.
Right? We don't have time for that.
Yeah.
There's too many things in our life that we, hold ourselves back from. So no more.
Right. I always get reminded of my mom, who would always be like, Steph, people don't really care about you that much. But like in the sense of like, they don't really care about what's going on in your life. They care more about what's going on in their life. Like obviously the people that love you do.
Yes.
But she'd always give that kind of harsh reality to me.
Yes.
And I always, every time I think about that, it's true. Who cares at the end of the day?
We think people are thinking about us way more than they actually are.
Oh, that is so true.
Right? Yeah.
That is so true.
Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah. So I'd love to hear, we've talked a lot about different things so far, but I know you've got a passion for fun and a passion for helping people. Who specifically do you most love to help, and how do you bring fun and other dynamics to the workplace and all the things you do?
Oh my goodness. I love to have fun.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, I do. I love to laugh.
Yes.
Like belly laugh right from toe to top.
Yes.
I mean, I think about my children, 22 and 20, Carter and Katie, both great senses of humor, and just like hanging out with them, and Rick too, my husband, they're great sense of humor. So, you know, we're always laughing a little bit at each other and ourselves. So I think, you know, that's kind of cool. We get a kind of a cool vibe there.
Yeah.
But I have a ton of fun with my girlfriends. I really value them. I have one brother. I don't have a deluge of siblings. So I really feel like, you know, some of these wonderful people that I've met, not just women, but men too, on hikes and biking and running and, you know, some of these healthy activities. I really feel like these are folks that enjoy life and really, you know, want to get out there and do their thing. And are typically pretty optimistic, positive type people, or at least this is the way I view them. So, so fun to be around.
Yeah.
So, you know, you think, well, you know, if you can be an influencer, for lack of a better term, what about if you could bring joy, you know, in your daily living in small ways?
Yes.
You know, and I just have I'm just surrounded by a lot of people in life that do that. They do that. And I'm on the receiving end probably of being a part of that. So I'm very blessed. When you apply it to business, and I do apply it to business, I have my favorite clients, and
you know who you are.
And honestly, many of those are people that don't take themselves they're excellent at what they do. You know, I'm a fan. I don't really work with too many people that I'm not a fan of, you know. I think that there's an energy there, and there's management, leadership styles that I gravitate towards, and people that put people first tend to be where I like to spend my time. Not that there's anything wrong with other kinds of leadership management styles, but that type of environment I really value. So I tend to, when I think about outreach to build my business, I think about the kinds of organizations that think along those lines or model themselves a little bit in that way.
Right.
And I align even my volunteer efforts with organizations in a similar vein. The Nature Conservancy of Canada, I'm the Atlantic chair and on their national board, and it's just a labor of love to think that, you know, I mean, what's more fun than nature?
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
Really though.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
I mean, have you ever gone for a walk on the beach and like
been grumpy?
Yeah, been grumpy after, like really.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it just is such a foundation to help create joy. So, and it's not laughter; it's just contentment and joy.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. So we all pull it from different places, and but if you can pull it, then you can push it back out again.
Right?
So you
yeah,
can really
it's
generate
it's a two-way street, right?
Yeah.
It cycles through. We had a guest recently also who's actually my coach right now, and she wrote a book called The Joy Spot.
Oh.
And it's wonderful. I think you would really like it.
Oh,
so
I wanna read
I'll
it.
send it your way. I'll send it your way.
Okay.
We both have copies now. So
Yeah.
Okay.
it's great. And it's a lot of daily reflective and journal prompts, things like that too. So I
Oh.
think it'll be totally up your alley. You and her might
Okay.
become best friends.
I'm almost finished The 12 Rules of Life by
Okay.
Jordan Peterson,
Okay.
who I love.
Yes.
Anyway,
It's a good one. You
I think I'm
recommend
going to
it?
be finished it by December.
Okay. Hey.
The rate I'm going.
I find though, so I'm notorious for just blowing through books. Right?
Really?
Just I read so much.
Okay,
I read
that's
like
a
40. I
superpower
read like
I don't
40
know
books
anything
a
about.
year. But I'll read them so fast that I don't take the time. Like novels, you can read really fast and it's fine. It's just a story. But I'm learning to really slow down with the personal and professional development books and
Love
letting
it.
myself digest. Because I learned that it's not about how many books can I read, although
Yes.
I am very proud of it. But it's, you know, am I actually getting anything out of it, right? Because what's the point of just like blazing through it if I'm not absorbing and putting the learning into practice?
Oh, I love it. You've got that nailed down.
Yeah.
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 I fall
tricky.
asleep every time I start reading. Maybe
Yeah.
I need
Yeah.
to stop reading at night.
There you go. Well, novels at night. I fall asleep reading a novel in bed, but like daytime reading is usually personal or professional development. Yeah. So
Okay.
usually I have like 3 or 4
Yes.
books on the go at a time.
I love your discipline around that. How do you approach it?
I don't read a lot, but that's just because I have other hobbies. Like I'm more fulfilled with like my cross stitching.
Yes.
And my little
She's very creative in everything. Or baking.
And baking.
Yeah.
I do a lot of baking. But yeah, no, I wish I could. I'm still working on like a book. It's been even longer. It'll probably take me till next year this time.
I just took back a book that I had lent her a year ago, and I was like, "Hey, did you finish it yet?" She's like, "Just take it back." See, we can laugh at ourselves. Or maybe I'm laughing at you. I don't know.
I need that book back. Oh yeah, it's just been sitting here.
Oh right.
The library of stuff.
It happens. It happens. And when you get it and it's not like the right time that you want to read it.
Yeah.
I get that. You just shelf it. Yeah.
Books.
It's fun. It's fun.
Low risk. Speaking of risk, risk is an interesting topic and one that we don't often sort of just talk about at large, but I think it's really important because at different stages in your career and your business, you view risk differently.
Absolutely.
And, you know, if I could speak to myself 30 years ago, the advice I'd give myself is take more risk sooner. I would have taken a few more risks. I have no regrets. I've made lots of change and learned through those changes, but I would definitely try and embrace risk a little more, and not be afraid to fail or stumble,
right?
And be concerned about that.
Talk about like divine guest at this purpose. Like right now, I'm just thinking like that's exactly where I'm at. Where I'm like, oh, this is really risky if I do X, Y, and Z. But I'm like, oh, it's that I don't want to fail. I also like the fear of like, oh, we're in a pandemic technically still. And it's so I like that you said that, and you kind of diverted our conversation. Oh, goodness,
we might have Anne here for a reason.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's kind of crazy because that is especially when you're an entrepreneur, like it was already a risk to get into it, but then to make more calculated risks.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you have to explore, and you know, we just don't take blind risks, and we try and educate ourselves and mitigate it, reduce it, and have strategies around not failing and so on and succeeding. But at the end of the day, I mean, we have to just we have to believe in ourselves. We believe we can do it and not talk ourselves out of.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So there's two. I think out loud that there's two voices in one's head, and one tends to overpower the other. So, you know, we need to be mindful of what we're hearing within ourselves at any given time.
Yeah.
It'll talk you into things that, you know,
oh yeah, Jessica is terrible.
Have an unwavering belief in yourself.
Yeah, that Jessica needs
not
to
easy to always listen to, and surround yourself with people that believe in you as well.
Yes, that's a big one
true.
too. I think it's, you know, being willing to speak those fears out loud because it becomes that strong internal dialogue. Yeah. But when you have people around you that support you and care about you and, you know, aren't going to let you just go jump off a ledge not knowing what's on the other side, but will say, hey, you can take that jump. Like, that's just a little leap, you know, or, you know, you'll be fine. You need that encouragement sometimes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Entrepreneurship can get really lonely too when you're doing it, you know, as a solo endeavor.
Yeah, I think too, you know, asking for feedback, like, and I share this in the circles that I'm in. Like, all feedback is love. Some feedback hurts.
Yeah.
But if you really want to improve or do something better or continue to evolve your game, there's only one way to do that, and that's get honest feedback.
Mm-hmm.
Even when you know that, oh, geez, I could have did better at this or whatever.
Yeah.
Ask for honest feedback,
Mm-hmm.
and ask people to be honest about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I did a private event this week, a business event in Summerside, and we had 25 business people there, and we talked about trends in commercial real estate, talked about financing, just a variety of topics around commercial projects and what the future is going to bring, and it was fascinating. But I evaluated that event afterwards. It went very well, but I wanted to hear it through the lens of the perspective of attendees. It's not what I think; it's what they think.
Yeah.
They were the guests. So I had some really good suggestions back around ways that I could improve the next one. It's called Business Leaders Exchange. And it was super fascinating, putting small groups of people in a room to hear about highly relevant information that they're super interested in versus large-scale events.
Yeah.
And in this environment, smaller scale events are better anyway. People feel more comfortable.
They're easier, yeah.
So it
Interesting.
was a really interesting activity. I want to do it again.
I love that.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear more too. I know you've got a passion for helping young women. Tell us more about that. What's that drive and what does that look like for you?
Well, so to talk about that, I have to go back to what inspired it. Years ago, in Atlanta, Canada, I got involved in a project of the Women Presidents Organization. And I don't know if you've ever heard of this group, but it's a North American organization headquartered in New York. And they were looking to establish a chapter in Atlanta, Canada, and they needed a facilitator to do it. So they hired me under contract to basically establish a peer-to-peer learning group of women entrepreneurs. So we established a founding chapter. It had 20 women from Atlanta, Canada. The chapter met in Halifax, and these women all own their own businesses, and they were what I would call second stage growth entrepreneurs. They all had generated no less than $1 million in sales annually, which was part of the requirement to be part of the group. And we had, the whole concept was learning from each other. And that was a powerful lesson for me. I facilitated that group. We started the second chapter in Newfoundland. I facilitated that for a couple of years and met some fascinating women.
I bet.
Yeah.
And the whole time I kept thinking about these accomplished women in business. Imagine if young women had the opportunity to have this kind of supportive environment in their careers.
Right.
And that thought never left me. So when I can get a chance to have a young person around me, if they can stand me for any longer than a couple hours, I take it. And I'll do walking meetings.
Yes.
And, I think particularly young women and young men, young people need a lot of support and encouragement. And, when we're in high school and we're learning about occupations and things that we can do, and we dream in Technicolor about all the different, we going to university, what are we going to do?
Yes.
What sector? And we learn about roles and jobs. But do we learn about entrepreneurship? That it's a real thing? That we can actually start a business?
Right. It's pretty basic. Yeah.
It's so
not so
I just like to
prominent.
have those kinds of conversations with young people, women and men,
I love that.
and encourage them to develop a professional network early in their career and
Right.
keep learning. Learning doesn't stop when you walk across the floor at
Right.
university
Yeah.
with your degree.
Absolutely. It
Continuous
shouldn't. That's
learning.
really just the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Really.
and don't let anyone tell
Yeah.
you or define you in terms of what you could be.
Yes.
You know, make sure it's your vision and not anybody else's. So yeah, I get a kick out of working with young people.
Yeah. I think that's like what you just said is such a tricky one too, right? Because we do have the influences of our parents or society, or, you know, even just like, well, my friends are going into business, so maybe I should go into business, right? Because like I'm scared to go off and do science, which is what I really want to do. But what if I lose my friends? Or, you know, there's so many different influences that dictate what we want to do, that how do you really get quiet and sit with yourself and recognize, what is it that lights me up?
Yes.
So I think I still have these reflections now. Sometimes I'm like, is this what I want to do? You know, like, how did I get here? And a lot of the big leaps that I've made, especially in the last 5 years, have been absolutely terrifying, because I'm like, what am I doing? Right? You question yourself, but when that drive and that passion is there, it's exciting.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It gets so muddied.
That's normal.
Yeah.
What's normal
Absolutely.
anyway?
Yeah. Normalize it.
Yeah. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I love that. That's very cool. I love how you show up so vibrantly, which is a great thing. Do you find that there's a different Anne who goes into her consultant work, or, you know, her real estate work, versus the Anne that's out hiking in the morning with the group? Or like, how do you kind of manage that?
Yeah. I like to be at a high vibration a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I like to have a lot of it. I do have a lot of energy, for sure. And I like to try and use that energy through the day in ways that serve me and hopefully others. But there are times that I just want to be alone to recharge. To, you know, when things get a little too chaotic, and it's chaotic right now. It's super busy right now. And I don't think there's a person that would be listening to this podcast that isn't probably super busy right now.
Yes.
It's the nature of fall and October and whatever. So, yeah, sometimes you just got to be quiet with yourself. And I say you have to slow down to speed up. You do have to mentally do that. And because chaos isn't a fun way to live.
It's not sustainable.
No,
really
it's
isn't.
not. You know, it can feel like success, but for me, that's not success, just personally for me. So I need to have some sense of order about it all. But I do like to run fairly hard. But you know, you need your sleep. You need your rest. You need time with yourself. I don't pretend to have great balance around that quite yet, Julianne. I think you do perhaps more than I do. But I'm working on it.
There's times. Well, my next question was going to be: Do you wait until you're like, oh my God, I really need that time to myself, and then find where it fits? Or do you have space already chunked out in your calendar where you know you're going to need a recharge, so it's going to be there and waiting for you?
I treat vacations as times for that. So I don't overschedule myself in vacations to recharge. But, you know, I mean, the last couple of years, I mean, we've all spent a lot more time in Prince Edward Island probably than we've been accustomed to. So, you know, the silver lining sort of has been certainly, you know, not being able to sort of travel with the freedom that we'd normally have. There's been some incredible adventures, and a lot of those for me have been in natural environments, which are peaceful and help deliver that. It's interesting, the Nature Conservancy of Canada have partnered with the Canadian Mental Health Association, and that's not by accident.
I love that.
Because
really
there's a
good
great, there's a great marriage there around how it is, you know, the two things go hand in hand so well. You know, it does help us with coping and, you know, gives us time and space to just think and be authentically us and hear the birds and realize how great, you know, how lucky
sitting
we
in
are
the
to
middle
have
of the
these
forest.
things. Yeah.
Happy place. And it's so beautiful this time of year.
Oh, it's the best time
Always
to go out.
beautiful, but
It's not too
these
hot.
colors are primo.
Yeah.
No mosquitoes.
Yes.
And it gets you out of your own head.
It does.
You get a little hectic, and maybe you feel tired, and you're feeling a little overworked or frenzied or whatever you want to call it, with deadlines all over. But go for a little walk and just listen and let your I mean, people laugh. I do a little bit of what I call forest bathing. And often that's misunderstood because it really does sound like it's, what? What are you doing? Bathing in the woods? No, but just literally, I mean, you can just go sit next to a tree or just lay down in the woods or just, touch a tree. I mean, it
hug a tree.
There's
a real thing.
just be.
Yeah.
And quiet your mind. And it's honestly, it's like therapy. It's so wonderful.
Yeah.
And there's a whole body of work done on forest therapy and bathing, and Mitch Cormier did a great little piece on it with CBC Radio not that maybe about 6 months ago.
Okay.
So Google it up. It's pretty interesting stuff.
So the most important question of tonight, Anne. What does self-care mean to you?
It means many things. I think self-care for me it's certainly physical and mental in terms of how I maintain what I think is my edge, my own personal edge, not relative to anybody else, but me being the best that I can be. I mean, can you imagine? I'm that crazy that I actually had T-shirts done that say "Showing up to live my best life." Gave them to my friends.
I love it.
Because I figure that if I'm constantly self-aware of trying to be the best that I can be, then I can put habits and incorporate things into my daily life that help me be that. And I don't always hit it, trust me. I'm pretty honest about that kind of stuff. But I just know that each day is a restart. So we all have our little baubles in the day, and boy, maybe it was a negative conversation, or maybe somebody's negative energy really pulled us down, or someone's attitude, or because something I discovered, we're all quite different.
Oh yeah.
Thank goodness for that.
Yes. Yes. Thank God. Wouldn't the world be boring if we were all the same?
You're right.
But we have to learn to navigate in relationships through the day, and yet not let it affect our core, still maintaining, not letting that, the external environment impact your center. And that's easier said than done, because sometimes those external forces
they can rock you.
They can. They absolutely can. Yeah. And especially if you have a number of things happen consecutively, and then you can feel a little bit winded, or So I think keeping perspective on that and just restarting every day mentally is one of my strategies. And then there's just the physical stuff. I mean, I hoot it up once in a while, but generally speaking, I live a pretty, clean life. I could try and eat healthy. I mean, not always, but, I mean, it's just balance. It's not being perfect in any of these areas. It's just trying to make an effort in the areas that I know. I'm just trying to give myself a good chance, with some discipline. Self-discipline, we haven't talked about it, but I'm going to say it out loud. Self-discipline is important. We all think, we struggle with it. Oh, I don't have discipline to do this. I start things I don't finish, But if we can just all be a little bit, if I personally can be a little bit better with self-discipline, I will hit my goals a little bit better. I'll be that much happier. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Yeah. Totally.
I think that's what gets in so many people's way. And then it becomes the narrative. And it's similar to before when we were talking about that like pesky little voice in our minds that tries to keep us to play small. it can get in the way of us taking care of ourselves too, right? Because it's like, oh, well, you already did that, so today's just a write-off, or, you know, you're never going to get on track, so why bother trying?
Yes.
But if we can flip that narrative and be kinder to ourselves with some gentle forcement of that discipline, it is a tough balance to find. But nobody else is going to get you off the couch or put that salad on your plate, or, you know,
Yeah.
we have to do it for ourselves because we love ourselves.
Yeah. That's so well said. I think what happens is people view where they want to get to, which seems bold and big, and that path seems quite overwhelming. And then it's like, well, where do I start? It seems like such an incredibly big task.
Right.
But what I found is that if you can practice breaking down those big, bold goals into daily tasks, the sum of 1,000,000, you know, the sum of 1,000 steps, and you will get there.
Yes.
And then recognize that, you know, you took those 3 or 4 steps today towards that goal. Always keep the big vision in mind, the big goal in mind.
Yeah.
And then the daily discouraging moments that you may come across are kept in perspective.
Yes.
Right?
I like that.
They don't put you off your game.
Exactly.
Right? You realize that they're minimal relative to all the other important and good things that happen that day. So I think it's perspective. I do a little session on mental resilience. I call it sharpen the saw. And the concept is, you know, I didn't make it up. I mean, you know, just borrowing it from somebody else. But if you can think about what your daily practices are to keep your own saw sharp, right? Can't saw logs with a dull blade.
You're right.
So if you can keep your blade sharp, if you will, then, you know, what does that look like for each of us? For me, it's daily fitness. It's enough rest.
Rest.
Right? Enough sleep.
Yeah.
So you can regenerate and give your brain a rest. And so, you know, for each of us, it's different.
Yeah.
Hugs.
Find
I
your
love
recipe.
hugs. I like hugging
They're
people.
the best.
You know?
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
I
Hugs
don't
and
know.
high fives. 2 things we were not supposed to do for a very long time. That's why COVID was so hard. No hugs, no high fives.
Yeah, I think
that's
we're
awesome.
very resilient.
Yeah.
And I think we need to give ourselves a pat in the back for, honestly, for all of the ways that we've been able to navigate through the last year and a half, 2 years. We really have had to step up, you know,
Yeah.
change and look after each other differently. And I think by and large, we've done that.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, I think we need to feel good about it.
Yeah. I love that. So before we wrap up, is there any other nuggets of advice that you would want to share with someone who's on this entrepreneur journey, that's maybe feeling like overwhelmed or wanting to quit, anything like that? What has been some great advice that's helped keep you going?
Surround yourself with people you trust and respect who'll be honest with you, but also people that have core skills and competencies that you aspire to. If it's a formal mentorship arrangement or if it's an informal advisory group, if it's a peer-to-peer group where people share in a confidential setting. I've been thinking about establishing a peer-to-peer group just recently, and I thought, I got a lot on right now. Maybe I'll just wait until January and see how it goes.
Right.
But where we meet monthly. But, you know, create your own group. Build your own network of support. But make sure that support has learning in it. Right?
Right.
And then I think the self-discipline of you got to talk nice to yourself through business, because there's, as an entrepreneur, you're not going to work any harder. I mean, is there really a journey that's you're not working hard?
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I'm working hard, but I'm proud of working hard.
Yes.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and that's a great distinction from that hustle culture too, right? Because it's not just like put your head down and go, and like, you know, doesn't matter what. It's, you know, taking care of yourself, working hard, being proud of what you've been able to do, celebrate the success like we talked about early in this conversation too. There's all these pieces that come together.
Yeah.
Oh, so much wisdom.
Oof. I'm learning as I'm sitting here listening to you, fine lady.
But I love that too, right? I think this is a great reminder too, that no matter how many years in business you are, like there's always something to be learned. There's always something to be gained, and continuing to surround yourself with people who are doing different things allows you that opportunity. So,
yeah. I think people have to shake off disappointment. I really believe that's important. You're going to expect the disappointments. You're going to have to. It's not about if. It's just about when. That's that's the journey of business.
Yes.
Just expect it and understand that this isn't your barrier. This is just your, you know, it's just slowing down your trajectory a little bit, but you'll get over it. Yeah. Believe in yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and surround yourself with people that will support your dreams. And this is the other final thing my God, once you get me talking, I can't stop. It's horrible. You know, don't minimize your dreams to suit somebody else. You know, be bold about it.
Yeah.
I love that.
That's don't let anybody tell you that your dreams are too big.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That one got me in the feels.
Yeah.
Damn you, Mercury retrograde. So many emotions this week.
I'm just so grateful that you asked me to come in and talk with you guys.
Thank you so much for being here.
Phenomenal.
This has been lovely.
This is a great podcast.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'm so proud of you guys for doing this. It's phenomenal.
So if our listeners and watchers wanted to find you, what would be the best place for them to go looking?
I'm always up for walking meetings.
Okay.
Ooh.
Yes.
Excellent. Yeah.
Facebook, Instagram, Ann Worth PEI.
Okay.
A Worth that, oh my God, do I even know my email addresses anymore? A Worth at CW Atlantic, if it's real estate related, cwatlantic.com, or Ann at worthconsultinggroup.com.
Perfect.
Worth Consulting Group. Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent.
All kinds of interesting things going on. And I love hearing people's stories. And that's the best part about continuing to grow your network and meet people.
100%.
Right? People will share their journeys, and that's the jelly.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
the jelly.
It is.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, thanks again. Appreciate having you here. And we're going to wrap up this episode of Thriving Tides.
Yeah. Another one done, folks.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening and watching or watching.
Thanks, everyone. Bye. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Thriving Tides. Hit the subscribe button to never miss an episode.
Follow us, Thriving Tides, on Facebook, Instagram, and now YouTube to stay connected. And remember, don't fight the rip currents.